It's true. Things that only I would do. 2 Maryland Million shows in a day. It is Laurel Horse Racing Happy Hour. Hanging out with our guy, Johnny P. I'm Louis Rabeau. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on a Thursday evening edition of the program that is wood paneling. You know, he means business. John, how are you?
I'm doing great. You know, the way most people are excited on like Breeders' Cup Thursday, that like adrenaline level, I have that adrenaline level right now. It is unironically my Breeders' Cup weekend. It's a very best in Maryland, in the spotlight, and I just love it. And from like a fan and betting standpoint, it's always a great weekend. So I am super pumped.
Yeah, it turns out to be these days, and I love it because we get back to back, and they are separated out by a couple of hours. We'll get Maryland Million, then we'll get the Charlestown races as well. If you want to hear from Paul Espinosa, he'll call the races at Charlestown. He'll be with me tomorrow at 10:20 Eastern time on ESPN Louisville, our usual horse racing spot there on Fridays. And hey, we got a new sponsor on the show today. Want to welcome our friends at trysprinkle.com. Very cool spot. And look, man, who says the happy hour has to be in cocktails? It's time to try Sprinkle instead. It's a dissolvable THC powder that turns any drink into a vibe. You want energy? Grab Go. You want to mellow out? Try Chill. And if it's time for lights out, go ahead and Sprinkle Sleep. No booze, no sugar, no hangover, just pure good times. And right now, it's Sprinkle Happy Hour. Use our code Happy Hour to get 20% off your next purchase. So skip the bar tab and sprinkle your happy hour. Find them online. Try sprinkle.com. Some of my favorite stuff going right now, man. I really love that stuff, John. So really, really happy to get connected with them. Nice American-based company there in Arizona. Very, very good people out there as well. So, John, this Maryland Million Day, can you sort of explain to folks how it is that you are, I don't want to say allowed to run, but qualified to run in these races, because there is a big distinction in Maryland between siring and bred.
Yes, and I think especially in light of the fact that the Mayor's Bread report came out today,
right? And
it kind of illustrates how basically people only care about 20 stallions and everybody else can go shove it. Yeah. It's very important to highlight days like the Maryland Million. So a Maryland Million is for horses who are not Maryland bred necessarily, but Maryland sired. So if your sire was standing in Maryland in the year in which you were conceived, you are eligible for the Maryland Million. So sometimes you'll see horses bred in like Pennsylvania or New Jersey or like neighboring states.
West Virginia comes up. Yep.
Yes. Yep. Even if they are, because they're Maryland sired. Right. And the only time a horse who's Maryland bred but not Maryland sired can run is if it draws fewer than 8 Maryland sired horses. So like Post Tide is in the Classic because there's only, I think, 6 Maryland sired horses, and him and Secret Zipper are able to run. And especially in this day and age, it's really important to highlight state sired programs.
Right.
Because not only can a good horse come from anywhere, they can be sired by anybody. Correct. As this day proves. Like, you don't have to go to some marquee stallion who's being bred at 250 mares a year to get a good horse. There's so many great stallions all over the place. They're producing great horses, and yet a lot of times they don't get their due. Right. And Maryland Million is Maryland's way of giving their stallions their due. So I think it's just amazing.
That's spectacular. And that sired versus bred distinction, just so people know, is for the stallion farms in Maryland. And it's a proud tradition. It goes back to the mid 1700s. It is something that's been going on in that part of the country for nearly 300 years, frankly, at this point. And so obviously want to protect some of those programs. And look, you and I were out at Country Life Farm this year, for example, right ahead of the Preakness. And you see those operations, you step on the grounds, and you know what an important day Saturday is going to be for so many of those people. So let's get into it. Earlier in the day, I did a Pick 6 preview with Dave Rodman and Mackenzie Pfeiffer. Dan Illman was on for the first part of that, but it is Maryland.
He waved, basically. He waved.
He waved. He said, hey, I'm betting on this horse in the last inning. Ran out as fast as he could. But this is the point, though, that John was just making. Big week in Maryland. So Dan's giving tours of Laurel. I mean, this is the kind of week we're talking about, and it's one of those things going on in Maryland. John and I are going to go through the early pick 5 and try to get you rolling in bankroll early in the day there at Laurel Park. So we will start with race 1 at Laurel Park on Saturday. It is a starter handicap, 7 furlongs on the dirt, a 1 mile dirt course, a 1 mile turn is available at Laurel Park. Excuse me. The track itself is 1.125 miles. So we'll do the 7 furlongs from just at the bottom of the chute there. Fillies and Mares 3 and up, going for $40,000 in this one. John, where'd you land in race 1?
You want to note, first post on Saturday is a bit earlier than usual. It's 11:30 Eastern time, so make sure to set your alarms. I am very enthusiastic about number 9, Cluck Cluck. In fact, I spent most of the year thinking that she'd be a serious contender in the Maryland Million Distaff. I thought she'd go in the big girls, but she was claimed to 12.5 earlier this year. That could end up being the claim of the year in Maryland. And because of that, she is eligible for this race. She really has not set a foot wrong since getting claimed by Claudia Gonzalez. She's hit the exacta in her last 7 starts, 4 wins in that stretch. A lot of them big efforts against much better horses than she'll see here. Thought she ran well last time out, going 6 furlongs in a 3rd level allowance optional claiming, probably a bit shorter than she might have liked to go against a better field than she's used to. But she ran a big race. Pressed the pace on the outside, while wide, got shook off by Top Gun Girl, who's much better than anybody she'll have to see in here, but did hold on for a clear-cut second over Cap Classique, who is a stakes winner and also a nice filly in her own right. Cluck Cluck ran another big speed figure that day. I mean, if she wins back to like any of her last 5 races, I think she wins this one easily. So she's a single in my pick 5.
There you go. Early pick 5 talk with Johnny Piazza here on the horse racing happy hour out at Laurel Park. The 9 will be John's early single here in the early pick 5. John, I'm going to include the 8 in my ticket, which is Neolithica. Will break right next to her out of the Kieran McGee barn. I'm wondering if the McGee barn doesn't have a day on Saturday, maybe 3 wins, something like that. Acosta gets the ride here. This horse came out of a very high level allowance at Delaware, ran 7th, but only by 4 lengths. Did have the lead in that race for a little while, John, as well. And so was up for the task, just wasn't as fast as those other horses. And I'm not going to hold a $70,000 allowance purse against this horse here. Is 6 for 15 lifetime at Laurel Park as well. And I think dropping back into this kind of level for this daughter of Neolithic makes a lot of sense in this spot. So it can be 8, 9 early on in this card. If you're trying to play an exacta, something like that, John, which on these days, I really think of, yeah, it's great to play pick 5s and I know all that, but man, with the size of these fields, if you can hit a couple nice exactas, you're going to be real good to go.
Oh, no question. Now, I don't think a 9-8 exacta is going to pay a ton here.
Very fair point, yes.
Because it is pretty much one of those two, but it is going to be a good way to start your day and maybe build a bankroll, take bigger swings later in the card.
There you go. Race 1 again. John is 9, 8, 3, and 1 in race 1. So if you wanted to follow along with Johnny P, by the way, at They're Off on the socials, you can go find him there. Race 2 on the card is the first of the Maryland Million races. It is the turf sprint. It is 5.5 furlongs on the turf. We're running for $100,000 here. This is for 3 and up, John. Some names in here that, especially if you were watching, certainly if you watched the Maryland circuit at all, but over previous weekend, you'll recognize some of these runners as well. Had to have them in here in the 1 hole. Most recently ran in the Van Cleef before coming back for the Laurel Dash at Colonial. Comes back in at 2-1. I think a worthy 2-1 in this field. But Whitty, of course, kind of one of those locals with Elizabeth Merriman, of course, in that barn with Rodriguez. The two of them getting together a lot on these kinds of horses. He's ridden him the last 2. He was the winner, by the way, of the Van Cleef. The interesting part of this race, I think, John, is that there's a very serious chance that the 2 best runners in this race are actually going to come from off the pace. And so I think it might actually set it up that if someone does get the jump on this field, they've actually got a shot as well. Where did you land in race 2?
I mean, first of all, Whitty is a good example of kind of what the Maryland Million is all about. He's a half-brother to Caravel. And as you said, Lizzie Merriman is the breeder, trainer, and co-owner. So she does it all, and her family has been involved in Maryland racing for decades.
Maryland royalty for sure. Yes,
yep.
No question.
Yep. Maryland through and through. To your point, I picked how to have him on top. He's in improving form. I really liked his race in the Laurel Dash, where he just gobbled up ground on the outside and won by 2, but he could have won by a lot more if he was asked maybe a half second sooner. I mean, Whitty, he's a fun horse cheer for, but he's just so inconsistent. I mean, to your point about him winning on a Preakness day, that was a day where speed was extremely good on the grass.
Yes.
And he came from off the pace and won going away. And I was like, oh my God, what an effort. And then he shows up in the Harvey Pack Stakes at Saratoga. He does nothing. Comes back in the Van Cleef. He wins. Comes back in the Haas again. Does nothing. Right. He won this race in 2023. He was 8th in it last year. So you don't know what you're going to get with him. So
the ultimate every other time. To defend him, though, he has hit the board in 4 of his 5 races this year. So it's not as though he throws in legitimate high-level clunkers or something, John. But you're right. As far as winning races, it's a little difficult to predict.
Right. So he's kind of hard to gauge. And to your point about a possible speed horse getting away, number 8, When I Get to Heaven, I think, is the biggest danger of that. He's won his last 2 starts in Stakes Company, won the Ben's Cat from just off the pace, and then ran a huge race in the Burt Allen at Colonial Downs, where he was hounded every step and ended up winning by a head. I know he's got the outside post, but there's not a lot of other quality speed. I think as long as he breaks well, he'll be able to cross and clear to the rail and the lead. And if he's left loose enough, he could very well steal it. I only picked him 3rd in my analysis, but I think he's still a must-use in the pick 5.
Yeah, I have him on top, actually, because of what you just talked about. And frankly, if those 2 longer closers who break from the inside of this field don't get good trips, John, I think he could absolutely get away from that outside post When I Get to Heaven, the son of Street Magician. Why not? There you go. Of course, bred by Larry Johnson. And by the way, this is a Ramsey ownership group too, right? I mean, there, people I think assume that this is all the Merriman family and whatever else. No, there's some of the national outfits for sure are playing the game in Maryland as well. And so I'm interested here. Nolan Ramsey trains as well. This one comes out of that handicap, and those handicaps are popping up in play. Gulfstream, Colonial, I think of them. He also won the Ben's Cat right here at Laurel 4-for-9 Lifetime. Don't let this guy get away. And frankly, they let him do it in the Ben's Cat at 23-3. The fractions were like that. So even in a race when he didn't break all that great, he was able to get that done. And so largely, John, I was going on his record at Laurel Park. And I think the fact that the other 2 major contenders in here are going to have to come from off the pace. So I went 8. I went 8-3-1. I know you went 1-3-8. So it's not as though we're terribly different.
Yeah. And I want to note also, he is not a best Larry Johnson bred grass sprinter running this weekend. We'll have Future Is Now over in your neck of the woods on Sunday at Keeneland. Hopefully a prep for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. And if she won that race, that would be just amazing.
It would be unbelievable, frankly. Yes, lots of good racing happening here in the Commonwealth this weekend at Keeneland. But of course, we're talking about Laurel Park. We're presented by TrySprinkle.com tonight. Go ahead and check out our promo code Happy Hour. Get 20% off site-wide with them. Everything from a little bit of energy during the day to something to help you sleep at night. They've got you covered at TrySprinkle.com. Race 3 in this sequence is another starter handicap. We're going 7 furlongs on the dirt. Again, this is on the male side of things. 3 and up here, $40,000 on the line in this one. John, you have a very different horse on top in this one than I did in race 3. Where did you end up landing?
So I've been following this horse for a while. It's number 4, Mo Is Perfect, who, by the way, is by Mosley, who stands at Country Life Farm, to your point. This guy, he has a lot of early speed, and he's flaunted it all year long. He won 3-back and 4-back, gate to wire both times. He was claimed by Kieran McGee in July at Parks, won for McGee at Colonial, ended up being transferred to the Michael Pino barn at Parks, and didn't run quite as well for him. He set the pace both times, going 2 turns and faded. Now he's back with McGee. Historically, he runs much better for McGee. He looks like a main speed, or at least one of the main speeds in here. He loves this track. He's won here 6 times in 24 starts, and he's hit the exacta 4 more times. I think there's a chance he goes gate to wire here as well.
There you go. Most perfect. A chance to go ahead and get the lead, keep the lead there. 2 wins in 8 starts this year alone. One of those at Colonial going a mile will step back into 7 furlongs here. I'm with you on especially the cutback angle. I think it makes a lot of sense for this horse because, like you said, he's capable of early speed, right? He's willing to break out of the gate, be in the lead, do that kind of work on the front end. So as far as that's concerned, I'm not going to push back too terribly difficult on that one. I landed on the 10 on top here, John. In Irish Heroes, Xavier Perez is going to get the ride for John Robin this one. And if we draw a line through what was an allowance for $86,000 last out, and we get back to this kind of level where he's running in 12K optional claimers, yes, at Delaware, but also they throw him on the turf at Pimlico. If we draw a line through that in his last races, take out an allowance, take off a turf race, and put him on the dirt, put him at the distance or just a little bit shorter. He's got 4 wins and 4 starts. And I think that's the horse we're going to get on Saturday. I do have questions about the distance because he seems to be a bit of a 6 furlong specialist. I can't tell, John, but my sense is this is the furthest he's ever going to go to this point in his career. So that is a question here. But you also have that horse in your handicapping. Do you largely agree with this and that son of Irish War Cry?
I picked him third. My thing is, if you bet him, if nothing else, you'll get a run for your money because he is going to go to the front.
No doubt. You're going to have a moment, yes.
And just keep going.
That's right.
It's possible that he can last gate to wire. I mean, I was skeptical of him. I remember I was skeptical of him going even 5.5 furlongs back in March, and he answered that question on the private terms undercard. But then he won going 6 furlongs time after that, and he did it again at Delaware Park in July. So wouldn't shock me at all if he stole it on the front end. Do want to give a shout out as well to my second choice, number 3, Alvy, who is 30-1 on the morning line. But if you look at the Brisnet scale, he's one of only 2 horses in the field who has run in the 80s in each of his last 3 starts. Going first off the Claudio Gonzalez claim. He had a pretty good closing kick. I mean, at a 30-1 morning line, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, especially at the price, as you mentioned, out of that Claudio Gonzalez part, who already has 2 wins this meet at Laurel Park himself. But John lands in race 3, 4, 3, 10, and 9. If he's right about any of those, boys, we're going to get some payouts on that one for sure. That's exactly right. John Piazzik with me. Lerbo, we're here previewing Maryland Million Saturday. We're going through the early pick 5, race 4. Boy, John, I got to say one of the things we talked about early on, and this is one of the Maryland Million races, by the way, it is the turf. Mile and an eighth on the turf course there, so we will start about halfway up the stretch and do the 2 turns thing there at Laurel Park. We'll put the when do we put the tarp on? Does that happen after October, or is that getting to December? Like, how much more turf racing we got to Laurel? We got a couple weeks, right?
Generally, like right before Thanksgiving is when they pull the plug. So we got some time.
But this is one of those races, John, when we talk about that sired and bred distinction, that's super important for who gets to draw in to these races, because sitting on the AE list at 9 and 10 are Coringa and Hard Spun Reason. I want to be very clear, John, I have those 2. If this were just a 10-horse field, they would be my top 2 selections for this one. And so if they draw in, I'm going to show my pick 5 later, and it's going to be a little confusing just because if one of these horses gets in, I'm going to include it. If they both get in, these are the 2 I'm going to use. I'm going to scratch the other horses I'm using. So in race 4, I know you landed on the 9 here, who's on the AE list, and Coringa. You and I both hoping that there's just at least one scratch here.
Right. Yeah. And look, to my point about when I get to heaven and Most Perfect earlier, this one has a lot of speed. I mean, he had a bit of a case of second-itis earlier in his career. He loved to come in second, but he faced what I thought was the toughest field he had ever seen on this track last time out. He set fairly honest fractions, and he not only held on, he won going away. He won by over 4 lengths, ran a huge figure. Not a lot of speed drawn to his inside, so I think he could be very live with a loose lead. A morning line favorite is the only non-Maryland sired horse in the main body. That's number 7, You Know Nothing, for the Miguel Clement barn. I thought she raced really well last time out over in your neck of the woods at Kentucky Downs.
I agree.
Stellify, who won that race, set just absolutely dawdling fractions. Nobody had any hope to catch her. Stellify verified her own form by winning the ladies marathon next time out.
Yep.
So, You Know Nothing ran huge that day. My only thing is, it's possible that Coringa plays the role of Stellify.
Right.
And You Know Nothing is once again pace compromised. I think that's a definite possibility in this field.
Real question for you here.
Sure.
Throw the blinkers on here. Equipment change that way at least. Does that tell you that Miguel Clement wants this horse to get out front? I think it does, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he kind of knows what's up. So I think it's a possibility he might try to have this filly rather challenge Coringa for the early lead. The only thing is that Coringa has been proven that he can go to the front and just keep going.
Correct.
Some horses are just by their nature not front runners. Oh, it's possible that Jamie is going to try to send nothing all he wants, and she might not want to go. And Coringa still gets the front, and he still sets that slow pace. So, I mean, she's even money on the morning line. There's no way that she'll get that if any of those aforementioned two draw in. Even if it stays intact, I don't think she's worth even money. Okay. But she is, I think, in the main body, her best horse in the race, but not like a cinch by any stretch.
Once in a while, John, you and I do these shows, and we try to pick out a pick five. And one of the questions I always ask is, in this sequence, who's the horse you have to beat to get that pay, right? To bump it from being an $800-900 pick five to being $2,000 plus. Is this the horse? Is this the even money favorite here? Is this the horse in this sequence? Because it doesn't feel like it to me.
I think not that she deserves to be such a big favorite, as I said, but she is the most vulnerable favorite, I think, in this sequence.
Okay, all right. And
because of that, again, if it stays intact, she'll end up being my top pick. But
right.
If you wanted to junk her completely, I'd be like, good for you. Toss it.
You went 9-7-8-6. I went 9-10-7-8-6. So I mean, we could not have been more. Yeah. So I've been talking to you for years. This is probably the closest we've ever been on a race, all things considered. So it's a pretty wild. But closing out the early pick five, of course, is race 5. It's another of the Maryland Million races, and it is the Lassie. It's one of the 2-year-old races. And don't worry, John's got notes on the later part of the sequence too that he wants to get to. So we will definitely do that. As well, this is 6 furlongs on the dirt. We're going for 2-year-old fillies here, $100,000 on the line. And I'd like to go through these fields, John, just because something you said earlier, I actually believe as well, which is you don't know where the next superstar might come from. And the 2-year-old races this time of year around the country, I think we should treat the ones in Maryland like I treat the ones in California or Kentucky or New York or whatever it might be. So let's go ahead and go through this field, at least some of those that we know have legit shots here. We'll start with the 2 here. Out of the Capuano barn in Doc's Miracle. Tried the Small Wonder last time, but before that, did break its maiden go in 2 turns at Timonium. What do you make of this this horse here, this daughter of Long River?
So she's interesting because she was, I think, going into the spring, kind of the second banana in the Capuano barn behind a stablemate of hers named Just Filtered, who ended up winning 2 stakes at Colonial Downs.
Yep.
And would have been an odds-on favorite in this race because she's by Great Notion, but her people decided to put her in the matron on grass at Aqueduct last week. It didn't quite work out, but hey, you take your shots. And Capuano still has who he actually bred, by the way, also under the name Nonstop Stable. So he, again, trainer, co-owner, co-breeder, he does it all with this one. She has, she's gotten better in her last few starts, but her whole career has been kind of underwhelming to me. Like, I know she won easily 2 starts back at Timonium, but that was not a strong field at all. I mean, she pretty much had to win that race. I thought 6-5 was kind of a gift on her. And she got second last time out in the Small Wonder, but didn't have, I think, a lot of late punch. Now, she could take another big step forward here and at least make some noise in the exotics, but I'm not too enthusiastic about her in the pick 5.
That is the 2 in Doc's Miracle. Let's go to the 5 in Share Success. Second timer for Brittany Russell did break her maiden in a state bred race at Laurel Park just a couple of weeks ago in the beginning of September. Very clearly trying to time it for this one, it appears at least. A daughter of Engage, and that is the Into Mischief line, if you don't remember Engage, folks. An interesting one. I tend to lean toward I trust Brittany Russell in these spots. Do you think we'll get 4-1, number 1? And what do you think of her prospects long term?
Well, I will say that Engage is becoming one of the most popular stallions in Maryland. He stands at Northview, where Great Notion stands. And I kind of wonder if Northview kind of sees him as the heir apparent to Great Notion as the marquee stallion in Maryland. I mean, for the reasons he talked about, he's by Into Mischief, so he has that going for him. So I'm curious to see how this one races. And it's rare that a Brittany Russell horse goes under the radar in a 2-year-old race in Maryland. But I have not heard much buzz about this horse, so she could kind of slide through the cracks. I mean, she did run a big race on debut, set the pace, kicked away. It was a largely inexperienced field, but she did what she had to do. Sheldon Russell gets aboard for the first time. Now, I'm not planning on using her in my pick 5, but that being said, I picked her 4th. I'm not sure what her morning line is. I'll look it up real quick, but I think it's a decent shot.
4-1.
She's like 5 or 6 to 1 at the end. And again, how often you get 5, 6 to 1 on a Brittany Russell 2-year-old? I mean, come on.
Yeah. That would shove me over the edge to bet for. I better honestly if I got 5 to 1 on a Russell.
Right, that's the thing.
At that point, I'm betting for sure. I'm fascinated by that one just because that's a great notion on the dam side as well. And I don't know if she'll turn into a classic horse, an Oaks or an Acorn or something like that kind of horse. But once in a while, you get great. We've seen some of those into mischiefs turn into, say, turf sprinters and that kind of stuff. I wonder if we won't get more of a quick type of foot out of her. Dave Rodman and Dan Illman's top choice in this race is Rerun Table to 6. Tori Alba rides for Salzman here in those 4 furlong baby races at Timonium. I never quite know what to make of them, John. But what do you make of Rerun Table? I'm in no business to doubt Dave Rodman. You understand me? I'm in no business.
Yes. So I did hear you guys talking about this horse on the show this afternoon. I remember when she was going to debut, because she was entered for her debut on Derby Day. And I was looking forward to her debut almost as much as I was looking forward to the Derby. Because she has such a huge win early pedigree. I was like, she's going to win and it's going to be great. And then she got scratched. Finally came back at Timonium on August 24th. I didn't bet as much money as I should have because she went off at 7 to 2. And she ran just a gigantic race. Came from well off the pace in a 4 furlong race. Horses do not make up 2.5 lengths.
No, they don't.
At Timonium.
This horse is
in a quarter of a mile. But she did. Wore down. What are we doing for the Russell Barn? Won by a head. Has worked very well since. And I think Dan and Dave noted she was going, a lot of 3 and 4 furlong drills over the summer. She's been going 5 furlongs in each of her last 3 starts, kind of getting her ready for this spot. And I know morning line favorite, who I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit, is Superstitious, who was ridden by J.G. Torrealba all summer long at Colonial Downs. J.G. also rode a rerun table in her maiden win, and now he's taken rerun table here too.
Wow. Yeah. We talked about Doc's Miracle earlier. Doc's Miracle was in the same race as a horse named Witchiness. And that horse will break from the 9-hole here, has been off since mid-July, where the horse won on debut at Delaware in a maiden special. Does have a bullet work at Parks the other day in a small sample size, but it's been working well. Good work from the gate, a couple back as well. I like Witchiness a lot in this spot because I think you're going to get unbelievable value. I think the speed figure's not going to speak to people. I think the connections are not going to speak to people. I think this ends up being an 8 to 10 to 1 kind of horse. I think that's the kind of price you're going to get on this one. Other than the layoff, John, is there anything about this horse not to like in this spot?
I mean, I could see it being as low as 4 to 1. I could see it being as high as 12 to 1. I really don't know. I mean, as you said, there's a lot of ways you can go. She ran well on debut at Delaware, broke slowly, made up a lot of ground. Didn't own a huge speed figure that day, but still overcame a lot of adversity at the start, which is always good to see as a 2-year-old. Came back to the work tab in mid-September and has worked well since. She was co-bred by Jamie Ness, who won this race with a homebred 2 years ago in Chicky Ness. Ness being kind of the giveaway that this is a Jamie Ness bred. So I do think he's had this one pointed towards this race specifically for a long time, possibly from the moment that she got on the work tab in early June. So I'm just curious to see how the board is going to look with her. And obviously you can't see that in the early pick 5. Yeah. But if you're betting to win or if you're playing a middle pick 3 or middle pick 4, and you can watch the board, I do think she's also one you want to keep in mind.
Yeah, Slooper Stidus.
Superstitious.
There's no stitious. There's no shish at the end of that. There's no I after the T.
I'll see if I can find Robbie or the Risers on Saturday, but Risers, I feel like
you get these people on camera saying what the name of this horse is, because I think this horse could be pretty good. All right, so it's a daughter of Great Notion. Slew City Slew on the damn side. I love that, by the way. And this is one that's been sprinting, of course, 2-year-old, so we wouldn't expect too much of a stretch out unless they're running an adjustment or something, or at Kentucky Downs. This one that ran in the Denali Madison, that ran in the Keswick before that, has been in those stakes at Colonial. Obviously, though, as the Maryland bred, was in this field the whole time. I'm fascinated. I think 9-5s, it always feels short in a 2-year-old race to me, John. It is what it is. Even with a 10 off or something like that, I just kind of go 9-5. I don't know. Even if it feels obvious or whatever. But this is one that if you take out the effort on the turf, but even the effort on the turf was fine. Let's be honest. Like it was fine. It was behind Just Filtered, who you've talked about already. How good can Superstitious be? Look at me saying things correctly. And do you agree with me, on that Great Notion kind of line? We're looking at a, 5.5 to 7 furlong kind of specialist.
Absolutely. And I'll say also, if I'll say Superstitious. If Superstitious had broken her maiden in that style, as she did at Saratoga or Delmar or Churchill Downs, people would be falling over themselves about her. She made a huge move in the center of the track, broke on the far outside post, swooped the field, won by almost 9 lengths, earned a huge Brisnet figure of 84. Very good for mid-July at Colonial Downs. And as you said, ran very well in her next 2 starts following that. Now, as you said, she is by Great Notion, whose progeny generally don't want to go that far, but it's only 6 furlongs.
Yeah.
She showed a great closing kick, even though Turrialpa's not aboard her. Jevion Toledo, obviously a more than capable replacement. So I think she's very live. That being said, I don't think she'll be as low as 9-5. And I definitely don't think Rerun Table is going to be 6-1. I think they're going to be pretty close in the final betting.
John landed 10, 6, 3, and 5 in this one. The only horse in that list, John, that we didn't talk about is a winner on debut in Noble Status. And shame on me, by the way, because this horse won by over 4 lengths on debut, keeps all of the same connections, Hamilton Smith's barn and all the things. But that was in a maiden 25. And so people know around the country, if you're dropping in on Maryland for the weekend, the different maiden levels that they have there. So I was joking earlier on the show. I'm sure you heard it, John. They run for 150 claimers in the maiden level in Kentucky. We're not doing that in Maryland. 45 is about the highest that you see in Maryland. So 25 is about a step and a half below that, something like that. So they decided to debut this horse at that level. Now, to be fair to the connections, they also paid $4,000 to breed this thing. So it's not like she was an expensive breeding job at all. This daughter of First Mondays, but that is the Curlin line. She's from that Jumpstart line on the dam side as well. Is it the breeding you like? Is it the performance in that maiden claimer? What do you like the most?
Combination of both. She's by First Mondays, who was kind of unheralded when he started his career in Maryland, but he's been doing very good work. He's hitting at 24% with first-time starters, so it would not shock me at all if First Mondays ended up being a relatively popular stallion. I mean, 24%. It's a much higher rate than a lot of those big Kentucky stallions, and you don't have to pay nearly as much. That was not a strong field at all. It was a $25,000 maiden claimer. You could probably cross off at least 1 0 to get an idea of how much those horses were actually worth. But she closed off of very moderate fractions, opening quarter only 23 2/5, half 47 4/5, but she kept on coming, won by over 4 lengths, going away, ran a decent figure. I don't think she's a great win candidate because she will have to improve quite a bit to beat the likes of Superstitious and share success. But I think if if you're playing a trifecta or a superfecta at 20-1 on the morning line, or even something like that, she's definitely worth using.
All right. I apologize for that. I've never in my life had that happen. My computer literally just restarted. I don't know if it was
Fun.
on or something like that, but literally popped off. But to be fair, that's also the quickest my computer's ever restarted. So maybe we're here. Exactly right. So you in race 5 again, 10, 6, 3, and 5. Horse Racing Happy Hour. He's John Piazza. I'm Louis Rabeau. I apologize for that. Whatever that was. I apologize in advance for that. John, I want to show your pick 5 here. So let's go ahead and roll through that together. You mentioned in race 1, you're going to single with the 9 horse there. But after that, a little trickier, 2 races in a row with 5. If someone has more of a bankroll, are those all kind of races to you, or will those 5 largely cover what you think can happen in those races?
Yes, I will say in race number 2, the 4 Olive Rev kind of scares me because she's also done well on this track. She's 5 for 9 lifetime, and she has also cost me a lot of money in many of those wins. So I think she is a bit dangerous. Definitely one worth using if you have a bit of a bigger bankroll. And in those starter races, I mean, I think you could spread 10 deep and still be concerned about number 11.
Yeah, so treat them like the dime claimers they represent. Right? I mean, it's the best of the $10,000 and $12,000 claimers, right? It is what it is, and it's okay. And by the way, that makes for a good betting product. And so it fills the gates and makes it difficult to handicap. Yeah, just give us all the stuff. That's exactly right. So you go 5 deep in the next 2 legs. 1, 2, 3, 6, 8 in leg 2. 1, 3, 4, 9, 10. In case anyone happens to be listening instead of able to view this at all. But then only 2 deep in the last 2 legs. You go 7, 9. In race 4, so a reminder of that race is the turf itself. So in that race, I need to point out that you are on 7 and 9. So that's Coringa if he draws in, and then you know nothing, of course, the Clement trainee that they are trying to get closer to the front for sure. And then in the 2-year-old race at the end there, you are going to use number 10, who is. I'm so sorry, my computer's still acting up here. Superstitious, of course. Everyone's favorite horse, of course. And then the Brittany Russell trainee, Share Success.
No,
excuse me. You're on our rerun table.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All good.
No. We need a single rerun table is what I'm saying. That's all I need. Like we're at the point now. It's Dan. It's Dave. It's you. I think Mackenzie talked this horse up.
The cat's out of the bag.
Cat's over. And so yes, that's it. That is what's going on there. So that is John's ticket, right at $50. Mine's somewhere between $96 and $144. Frankly, if Coringa draws in, go ahead and use it that way. I'll leave this up on the screen for a minute. I'm going to go 8, 9 in the first leg. I'll go 1, 3, and 8 in the second leg. So skinny in a spot that's not an easy spot to be skinny. 6, 9, 10, 11. So that's the leg there that I'm going to go a little bit differently than John. Because John did not have the 11 or the 6 in his handicapping in race 3, but I'm going to include those 2 in mine. I have 6, 7, 8, and 9 and 10 in the 4th leg. Again, the 9 and 10 would have to draw in to that field. If they do not use the 6, 7, and 8, that would be a $144 ticket. If the 9 and 10 draw in, just use 2 horses. It's a $96 ticket. And then 5, 6, 9, and 10 in the finale. A little bit of a flyer there. I'm also covering my bases. I do think Share Success can win in here, and I do think Witchiness off the bench can win as well. So, and frankly, I think Witchiness would probably pay the best of those 4 horses as well. Yeah, so there you go in that. But, John, I know you do have some horses that you wanted to talk about from later in the card. So let's go ahead and do those. Tell me which races they're in, and then I'll follow along with you.
So race number 7, not in the early or late pick 5, but it does begin the Chesapeake jackpot pick 6. It's Maryland Million Distaff, which, by the way, out of the 12 horses in here, 8 of them are homebreds. Further driving home the point of how this is a real down home kind of race.
How about that?
And I really like a horse who we followed a lot on the road to the Black-Eyed Susan and the Preakness, who neither I don't think either you or Dan or Mackenzie or Dave brought her up. And I think she is, a single. And I love the Laurel race office. I wish they had put this race in the late pick 5 so I could single her in the pick 5. That's number 3, Onyx 10.
Whoa. Time out real quick. Because I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you, handicapper and handicapper. Doesn't a single in the pick 6 just make it a 20-cent pick 5?
That's true, but it's a jackpot. It's not quite the same.
I know, but Laurel this year,
we'll
the payouts have been
playing,
better on the pay six. They have been on the pick six. Excuse me, they have been. They've just been better.
I will be playing the pick six just because of this horse. So
Okay, fair enough. Okay, all right, okay, okay. Continue. Yes.
Yes. So
I'll allow it. Yes.
so folks who listen to our shows over the winter know Onyx 10 well. She won the wide country and the extra heat, both times by a length or more, both times running big figures, both of them going shorter distances, 6 furlongs and 7 furlongs respectively. Tried to go a mile in the Beyond the Wire Stakes. It didn't work out. Went to the sidelines after that race, came back in the tax-free shopping distaff allowance at Delaware Park, basically a stakes race in everything but official name only. Faced older horses for the first time that day, sat just off the pace, kicked away, ran a career best Brisnet figure in her first start off a 5.5-month break. Now going second off the bench, keeps Yedzit Hazelwood, who's been having an amazing meet. He's I think a dark horse for the Eclipse Award for leading apprentice.
Yep.
As many Marylanders have won.
I was going to say
years.
that is. I was going to say that is a Maryland specialty, no doubt about it. Yep.
Yeah. So I think on pure ability, she is the best horse in this race. I think if she moves forward at all, second off the layoff, the rest of these are running for second.
I think one of the exciting things about this particular race is how many good 3-year-olds there are in it.
Yes,
it speaks to the future of this division in Maryland. I think it's going to be very, very good for a while. And so that part has been really, really good. So again, that is the 3-horse in race 7, Onyx 10 in the distaff there on Maryland Million Saturday. John Piazza, Louis Rabot. We are going through John's later in the card standouts for him. Which race are we going to now, John?
So going all the way to the end after Post Time has won the Classic and everyone talks about how great he is again. There's still one more to go and everyone's trying to get out, making sure they still have enough money to go to Jimmy's Seafood at the end of the day.
You're damn right.
Of course. I am going with another horse bred by the Risers, trained by Robbie Bales, and one easier to pronounce than their other homebred. It's number 5, Slam Notion, who has a not dissimilar profile to that of Onyx 10, in that he's a 3-year-old who proved himself against older horses last time, has been getting better throughout the year, and I think is ready to run a career best race. He's run well on this track numerous times. He's hit the exacta 5 times out of 6 here. Really, his only bad races this season came in the Chick Lang, when he broke slowly and might have been a bit outclassed in the first place. And then when he tried grass at Colonial Downs in late July, and that just didn't quite work out. Went to the Dirt-esque timeout. First time against older horses on a off track, and there's a chance of rain later in the card. Knock on wood. The rain stays away till the end of the day, but it's possible. It's a bit of an off track.
Yep.
And he handled that with ease. Yep. Sat off the pace, split horses, won easy. There's a lot of speed in here. I mean, Haley's First Notion, number 8, is definitely going to be the main speed. There's some high quality speed. It was outside in Twisted Ride. A few more speeds to their inside. I think Slam Notion sits just off the pace, and he gets the setup.
You mentioned it. Does Post Time win the Classic?
You know, I have tried to beat him before, and I don't think he's as good as he once was. I think that's which both the Whitney and Woodward proved, but he still has enough left in the tank to beat these. I think if you want to try to beat him, if you want to be kind of a wise guy, number 2, Barbadian Runner.
If Barbadian Runner takes a step forward from the hill, he can win this race. I actually agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He could absolutely win.
Yep.
4-time stakes winner, stakes placed 1 million times.
Yep.
I mean, as I said on Twitter a while back, he is another great story. He's by like a real working class stallion, working class owner, working class trainer. Forrest Boyce has been riding in Maryland for 1 million years, and he's been having a great season. And then also before, Secret Zipper, I picked him 3rd. He's 20-1 on the morning line. Nice. At his best, I don't know if he's capable of his best anymore. At his best, he can wire this field, and at his best, he can wire this field. I think even if the best version of Post Time shows up.
Okay.
So it's going to take kind of a perfect elixir. But if you want to take a shot in the pick 5, if you found enough singles elsewhere and you have the opportunity to spread, which I don't, I'm going to end up singling Post Time like
I was going to say, God bless those people.
But if you really want to take a shot,
yeah,
there are options.
You know, we talked about it early in the earlier part of this episode, John, where in the early sequence, who's the horse you have to beat to get the pass? It's Post Time on the card.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, it's Post Time. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Let's walk through it, John. Let's assume he wins on Saturday. What are you saying about Post Time in 5 years?
I hope there is a stakes at the new Pimlico named after him because he would deserve it.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that I know Mrs.
I don't hate that, by the way.
Oh yeah, and
Post Time for the Post Time.
Exactly. and I know Mrs. Charles, who owns him, is a Marylander through and through. Her family's been involved in Maryland for a long time, so I'm hoping that he ends up standing somewhere in Maryland after he's done.
Yeah, right.
On the track. So he is just. He in many ways, his owner, his trainer, his jockey, everything about him, he is almost like the embodiment of Maryland racing. You know, has a great closing style. He's really, I've seen him mature over the years. I remember when he debuted, he used to like lug in like crazy. He's really established himself. He's run huge on many big stages. He's had a tremendous career. So he'll always be a favorite of mine.
He won the Deputed Testimony Stakes, of course, in June, named for the last Preakness winner to come out of Federico Tessio. Go ahead, yes.
But it's possible that if Post Time had not gotten hurt as a 3-year-old, he might have. We'll never know, but it's possible that
we wouldn't have to bring up.
That we wouldn't have to bring up Deputed Testimony if
the next fair like that. Changes, right? If Maryland bred wins the Preakness, like we got to move Deputed Testimony out of the way on that stakes name, right? It goes immediately to the next horse, right? That's not
I will say there is one horse who you and I saw live this year, and we had talked about as a possible horse in this race, who I thought might have broken the drought had he not gotten hurt, and that is Passion Rules by Frisian Fire, who has been working at Churchill Downs over the past few weeks. I was hoping he would show up here. He did not. But I have to imagine he's going to come back fairly soon, somewhere out in your neck of the woods. And he's a horse who people should have their eye on for like those Fairgrounds, Oaklawn, 4-year-old stakes, because he could make a lot of noise in those.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, too, to see who ends up as we start to get to this time of year. Obviously, Breeders' Cup in a couple of weeks, we'll be focusing on that. But the post-Breeders' Cup stuff, when we get to Churchill, when we get back to those aqueduct races, the Cigar Miles and that kind of stuff, the Clark, of course, where some of these horses are going to end up, because a horse like Post Time ain't going to the Breeders' Cup. And I don't know if the Cigar Miles is a better spot for him. I don't know if the Clark's a better spot for him. If they got discouraged by his effort here at Churchill Downs, but against a track record, so like, what are we doing? And so I'm interested where some of these horses are going to end up after this weekend, essentially, where, a Post Time, this is, I don't want to call it a soft spot, but it's a soft spot for him compared to the Woodward or something. And so, get some of that confidence back and then move on with it. Do you think even with them being 10 for 10 at Laurel, they're actually hoping for a little moisture in the track? Because he's very good.
Yeah. He's excelled in the mud too. Like he's won on off tracks here. And in fact, probably his most impressive race of his career was in Maryland Juvenile as a 2-year-old, and that was in a sea of mud, or at least his most impressive Laurel race. I think the Dakota is probably his most impressive race in general. I will say too, I think a lot of Post Time's campaign the rest of the year depends on if they're going to bring him back at 6.
Right.
If they are not, I can see them, just wanting to end his career.
Well,
with some stakes win at Laurel and like cap him up, hopefully with an undefeated record at Laurel and not take too many big swings with him.
I think one more run in the Cigar Mile and then off to stud makes total sense for him. It really does.
I think so.
It really does. And sometimes Yeah, right. Go see what that field looks like, and then go to the breeding shed. But like you said, he could stand in Maryland. He could stand for a decent price, frankly, and make it worth it for that ownership group for sure. And so, yeah, gosh, crazy to think about him not running anymore. So used to seeing him all the time, so durable as a 4 and 5-year-old. All these races we've got to see him in. Well, John, thanks so much, man, for hanging out, for sharing your insights here. Again, head back to the early part of this episode for John's early pick 5. And my early pick 5, frankly, if you want that as well, you should play John's instead of mine. On Maryland Million Day out there as well. 2 more of his picks there in the distaff and in the sprint to close the show. And again, hey, happy hour doesn't have to be all about cocktails. It's trying to try Sprinkle instead. It's a dissolvable THC powder that turns any drink into a vibe. If you want energy, grab Go. Need to mellow out? Try Chill. And if it's time for lights out, of course, try Sleep. No booze, no sugar, no hangovers, just pure good times. And right now it's Sprinkle Happy Hour. Use our code Happy Hour at checkout, 20% off your purchase site-wide at trysprinkle.com. So skip the bar tab, and try our friends at trysprinkle.com. Happy Maryland Million to you, John. Have a great time.
Thank you so much.
If you're doing the cigar thing that I didn't get invited to, take pictures for me, tag me on socials, do all the good stuff, make me feel like I'm there.
I'm not going tomorrow night, but Illman is, so if you want to get those pictures, you can.
All right, we'll have to do that. Thank you to everyone who hung out. We got up to 660 people watching. We appreciate you very much.
There you go.
I'm the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Back at it tomorrow, SoCal Saturdays. We'll preview that car out at San Diego. See you then.